Thank you. Let's hear it for Lissy again. Wow, look at this place. Cedar Rapids. All they promised me was Crunchberry. Look at this. This is incredible. Give yourselves a big round of applause. This is this might be the largest. I've been here in Iowa now. This is day 11. Day 11 for Bernie. And this might be our largest crowd. This is incredible. Wow. Cedar Rapids. Cedar Rapids made it happen. Thank you very much for being here. And I just want to say that we are so close now. We're 48 hours away from finding out what Iowa is going to do historically. The historic night, this Monday night. The history that can be made here. You did this in 2008. You did this. Everybody said Barack Obama couldn't win. It's not going to happen. And Iowa will never vote for Barack Hussein Obama. You remember that? And look what you did. You made history. In 48 hours, I believe you are going to make history again with Bernie Sanders. Iowa. It's so amazing to see the wealthy, the 1% going crazy on TV this past week. They don't know what to do. They never expected this to happen. Here we are just before the Iowa caucus, and Bernie Sanders is number one in the polls in Iowa. Number one. Number one in New Hampshire. Number one. Number one in California. And now, this morning's poll, number one across the entire nation. Bernie! Bernie! It's amazing. Just the youth vote alone, the young adults, 18 to 35, he's polling at 52 to 56% of all young people. According to CNN, he is now number one amongst non-white voters across America. He has the highest approval rating of anybody running for president in 2020. More people love Bernie than anybody else. But you know, this really isn't just about the numbers, is it? It's about the heart and the soul of the things that we believe in. The America that we still believe in. The America, I say this all the time. I said, I believe in the America we've yet to have. That's the America I believe in. I believe we can still make the promise real. But one thing you hear, and he'll be out here in a few minutes. One thing I've heard all across the state here over this week and a half is out of Bernie. The words constantly in every town, in every speech, love and compassion. This is what he's talking about. Love and compassion. And it's funny, when you watch the sound bites of the evening news after these rallies, I never see that bite of love and compassion. But obviously, anybody who stands for the things that he stands for and the things that he's going to do as president, it's all about love and compassion. If we want to, when you say that every single American should be able to see a doctor and go to the hospital and never have to be in debt for that. Never have to lose their home. Never have to go bankrupt. That is an act of love. That's an act of love. When we have a candidate that says we are going to stop locking up our black and brown people across this country, that is an act of love and compassion. When we have a candidate that says, you young people, after you graduate from college at the age of 22, you should not be thrown into a virtual debtor's prison where you have to work to pay off your debts for the next 30 years of your lives. That is wrong. That is wrong. And it's an act of compassion to say, you shouldn't have to do this. It's an act of love to say, if you've just given birth to a baby, if you brought life into this world, you, the mother and the father, should be able to have some time off so you can help raise your child and not have to worry about it. That's an act of love. When you say, as we have with Bernie saying, that $7.25 an hour is immoral, it's cruel. $15 an hour at the minimum is an act of love. You go down everything he believes in. Where does this come from? Where did he come up with this? Last year? 4 years ago? No. 7 Super Bowls ago? Just watching the Super Bowl. Bernie's just watching the Super Bowl. One day he goes, got to thinking, women should be paid the same as men. No, he's believed in all of this for 4 or 5 decades. Decades. And not just believed in it, he's fought for it. He's fought for it. Go online, you can type in the name Bernie Sanders arrest. He was 19 years old. He's in college, and he goes to a civil rights demonstration in 1963. 1963. And he is being arrested at this civil rights demonstration, and the police have locked onto both of his arms. And he clearly didn't go to the civil disobedience training where they tell you to go limp, and then the police will take the little zip ties and handcuff you with them. Look at the photo of Bernie. He's fighting the police. Let me go. 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 I don't know if he actually talked like that when he was 19, but it's possible. 1963. 1972. 3 years after the Stonewall Rebellion. 3 years. That's all. He writes an op-ed on gay rights. The term doesn't even exist then. The term doesn't exist. He writes an op-ed that says, no one should be discriminated against if they are in love with someone of their same gender. 1972! (1969), 4 years before Roe versus Wade, he writes another op-ed saying that the government has no responsibility or role in interfering with a woman's right to choose. 1969! He has been so far ahead of the curve through his entire life. He has stood for the things that are right and just long before other people catch on. When he was mayor of Burlington, Vermont, I believe this was 1985, he held the first gay pride parade in Burlington, Vermont. When he was mayor of Burlington, he walked the picket line with union members, with nurses and teachers and others who were on strike. That's Bernie Sanders. He's been this way his whole life. He was asked in Dubuque 2 weeks ago. Somebody stood up and said, well, don't you think you're too old to be president? And just as a side note, I hate this question because let me just point this out. Nancy Pelosi is older than Bernie Sanders. Is she too old? Let's stop this. It's an old question. Here's what's too old, that question. Denying climate change, that's too old. Women not being paid the same as men, that's too old. Not having daycare for our children, that's too old. But Bernie answered the question. He said, well, you know, what you get with somebody at this age is somebody who has a lifetime, a record to show you what I've done and what I've stood for. A very long, as I've just described, this record that goes back to 1963. That's who he is. And then he also added something to the effect, and those of you, any of us with grandparents, he said, plus the other good thing about being this age, I can promise you, I won't change. He can't be bought. He will not sell out. The Bernie of 1963 will be the Bernie of 2023. That's who Bernie is. I have to say this, and it struck me yesterday. Man, I was, where were we? We were somewhere near Des Moines. And, Clive. That's the name I wish my parents had called me, Clive. I was in Clive, Iowa. And we found out that the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, they had decided to change the rules as to who gets into the debate. And they did this because they're so nervous and worried about Bernie. There's a story in Politico today how some members of the DNC met today to discuss how to stop Bernie Sanders, how to let the superdelegates, remember them? Yeah. They're going to try and figure out a way to have them vote on the first ballot at the convention. We have to stop this. This can't happen. But the worst thing was they changed the rules of who gets in the debate because they thought the way to stop Bernie is let's bring Mike Bloomberg into this. So they removed the rule that requires you to have enough donations, small donations, even $1, from enough Americans to show that you have some support. Otherwise, other than 27 people on the stage, we'd have 227 candidates on the stage. So it's a very small, you just $1, and each time it's been a few more thousand that you have to have these donations from. That's it. But because Bloomberg doesn't have a single donation from anybody except himself, he has bought his way. They've changed the rules to let him into the Nevada debate where he doesn't have to do what everybody else had to do. This is everything we have fought against our entire lives, right, folks? We forgot, yes, our main opponent is Donald Trump and the Republicans and all this, but we have a 1% in our party too. And they think that they can buy their way with their billionaire onto the stage. And I'll say this right now, after watching the all-white Iowa debate, the fact that they would let Bloomberg into the next one because he's got the cash and not allow Cory Booker and Julian Castro into the Iowa debate. They don't get to debate, but Bloomberg does. This is wrong, my friends. We must speak out against this. We must not allow this to happen. This is absolutely wrong, and I'm like so disappointed. Maybe they'll change their minds. Maybe if they hear from enough of us, they'll do this. Let them hear you right now. Come on. But I really... Bernie, who has the most number of donors across the country, the most volunteers of any campaign across the country. And now, the story last night, the candidate who has the most donations from our active service military members, our service members, our active duty military, the candidate with the most donations from our good soldiers and airmen and women and sailors is Bernie Sanders. Because you know why he has the most donations from our active duty military? Because they signed up, they volunteered to give their lives so that you and I don't have to. Is there any greater gift a human can give another human than to do that? To say, I will die so that you don't have to. And all they ask in return is do not put them in harm's way unless it's absolutely necessary for the actual defense of this country. That's it. That's all they ask for. That's all they want. And they know from our past history in these last 20 years that whoever's in the White House, in the case of especially, as we know, George W. Bush, they will be sent to wars that are unnecessary, immoral, illegal, and wrong. Bernie Sanders, they know, will not do that to them. Bernie Sanders will not put their lives in jeopardy. I think this is the first time someone running as the Democrat has achieved this number of the most active duty military donating to the campaign. How powerful is that? Oh, yeah, Mike, he's a democratic socialist. He's a... Oh. Yeah, so is Franklin Roosevelt. That's why they didn't have that name back then, but that's why they called it Social Security. They just cut the ist off. There's no ist. Social Security, unemployment compensation, all the things that Roosevelt did to make sure that people had a seat at the table and a slice of the pie. That's all what that is, democratic socialism. Make sure everybody has a seat at the table and a slice of the pie. Is it that hard? Can we not do that? It also means, if somebody asks you, what does this mean? It means that the rich man will have a harder time getting into heaven than the camel will have passing through the eye of the needle. You ever hear that before? It means that the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. That's democratic socialism. Those were the beliefs I was brought up on. I remember a story being told to me. That when this person who espoused these beliefs 2,000 years ago, he was giving a speech on a hilltop. There were about 5,000 people there. And nobody brought a food truck. There was no place to eat. But there was a guy with a basket with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And so JC said to him, people are going to get hungry here. Can you just start passing out pieces of the fish and the bread? And the guy said, well, all I have is this. And JC said, well, it'll work. Just start passing it around. And somehow it made it all through the 5,000 people, and everybody got a piece of bread, and everybody got a piece of fish. That's called sharing the wealth. That's called redistribution. It's called democracy. It's called freedom. If you need to explain that to someone in your family, explain it that way. I want to close by saying there are two ways to go here this year. Trump's way or Bernie's way. And you say, okay, well, Mike, Bernie's way, how's that going to happen? Because Bernie, how many times have people say, I like Bernie, but, can he win? Can he win? In every single poll, Bernie beats Trump, and usually beats him by a higher margin than any of the other Democratic candidates. Let me quote a few of these polls. The RCP average poll, Bernie 49.8%, Trump 43.6%. Fox News, this is a good one. Fox News, Bernie 48%, Trump 39%. The day that Trump was watching that on Fox News, I don't know what happened to his KFC bucket, but something. Survey USA, Bernie 50%, Trump 43%. Go down the whole list of all the polls. Bernie is ahead in most of them, ahead of Biden, ahead of all of them. Bernie can't win? No, you know what? Next time you hear a pundit say that on TV, Bernie can't win, what they're really saying is, we don't want Bernie to win. We don't want Bernie. Of course you don't want Bernie to win. Why don't you want Bernie to win? Why not? What's the worst thing that could happen if Bernie were president? You get sick and you don't lose your home. What is the worst? You're making $7.25 an hour now, and halfway through Bernie's first term, you're making $15+ an hour. That's the worst that's going to happen. Now, we all know what the worst is going to happen when Bernie's elected. The worst that's going to happen is that the rich are going to have to start paying their taxes. That's what's going to happen. And that's the worst thing. And that's why they say, Bernie can't win. Bernie can't win. You got to change the tone. It's not that Bernie can't win. They're actually saying, Bernie can't win. Bernie can't win, please. No. Trump's way or Bernie way? Trump's way, full of bile and garbage and lies and cruelty. Bernie's way, full of love and compassion. Let's hear it. Love and compassion. Love and compassion. Love and compassion. That's the way it's going to be starting next January of 2021. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for coming out. This is incredible.